Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tony from her Homestead Skills, and I guess the theme of the video today is planning. I think at this point everyone is aware that you have to be on the lookout for canning supplies and be prepared to pick up jars and lids as they become available and where you can find them. And hopefully by the time the fall rolls around, you'll have an adequate supply to fill your needs. Now, what are your needs? For an experienced canner, you probably do have adequate jars on hand. Most of us do. Doesn't mean we don't want to increase our pantry stock. I think experienced canners do tend to increase their pantry year in and year out until you get to a point where you start decreasing it, where you move from perhaps quart jars to pint jars because the family has grown up and moved on and you don't need the large quantities that you did at one time. So it's a matter of now planning what your canning needs for the year are. So if you're a novice, you'll likely want to stock your pantry with a few special items, or perhaps more than just a few. Perhaps you're concerned about the times and you want to develop some sort of food security for your family. And that's always a good thing to do. I would never suggest that you do otherwise. You should always have enough in stock that you don't have to worry. Now, what is enough? Only you can determine that. I don't believe in panic preparation. I don't believe that we can always plan for every emergency, and it would, if I looked at life, I would tell you that what you plan for is, the emergency that you plan for is never the emergency that you face. That doesn't mean we shouldn't prepare and we shouldn't plan, we shouldn't try to look after ourselves and our children. You could be the best prepper in the world, but face an emergency that you haven't considered at all. So, and that happens to all of us. A health problem is something that nobody can prepare for. It's something you deal with. Okay, so let's plan. You've planned your pantry. You've planned how many jars you may need. Perhaps not. Now, do you plan to put in a garden? And if so, is that garden going to produce items for you that you want to preserve, or is it just meant to produce what you can eat fresh during the season that you can grow yourself? I have never had a big enough garden that I can do a lot of preserving from my own garden. Some fortunate people can, but I'm not one of them. So mine is mostly to eat fresh produce that I've grown myself for the season. Now, with that being said, there are a few items that I have grown in abundance and have preserved. Last year I had green peppers galore, bushels of them. We ate them during the summer or as soon as they became large enough to eat, and then I preserved a ton of them. My beans made it late, and I did preserve some of my own beans. The rabbits got at them before I could, and it was a battle between me and them to allow them to grow, and I've had that happen in other years as well. Depending on where my garden was, some years I had the most amazing harvest of beans, and I plan to try and do that again this year. Cucumbers are something that either grows really easily and you get a big harvest, or they get a wilt or some sort of damage and the vine dies back and you get very little harvest. So Cucumbers are one of those things that are always a bit iffy for me. One year they'll do very well, another year they won't. If they do well, then I make pickles from my own garden, as well as have cucumbers for summer salads. If they don't do well, then I have to buy pickles if I want to make pickles, if I want to preserve pickles. So I've tried growing corn. The birds got to them just as they were just getting beautiful. Just as they were maturing and becoming harvestable, the birds got them. So unless you're growing fields and fields and fields of corn, it didn't work for me. So I'm not going to bother putting in corn. Tomatoes, I can definitely grow enough tomatoes to can my own nowadays. Especially, probably this year I can as well, because last year I canned so many tomatoes. So whatever I put in tomatoes, I will likely have for summer salads and can what's left over. So I guess this is the plan. What is it you plan to grow? What is it you plan to harvest from your garden and can? And how do you intend to get the other produce that you need? If you are a farmer and or you have land and you have animals and chickens, certainly you can grow and harvest your own animals and your own meat, and either freeze or can it. That's, I think when you have that larger quantity, it's usually frozen. Once again, that is not something that I have access to. So any meat that I bring in, I like my sausages that I made this past couple of weeks. I had to purchase the meat, but in Ontario this time of year, Ontario pork is just, the stores are just swarming with tons of pork. I think they cater to the market that does make sausages and prosciuttos and all kinds of preserved meats, salamis, and so this time of year we do have a lot of those shoulders and hams available at very good prices. So that is the way I purchase my meat. Now, I find that some of these, for fruits and for berries, some of these picket farms are one of the best means of getting, say, fresh apples or fresh pears, like buying them. Rather than going to the stores, you can certainly buy them locally in the stores, even in the fall when they're in season and they're priced well. But you can also support your local farmers and go to these picket farms and pick it yourself. I don't find it inexpensive. I find it quite expensive actually, but beautiful produce, fresh picked yourself, and it's lovely. You can't be beat. Now, growing items such as potatoes, sweet potatoes, onions, turnips, and that, it does take a little bit of space, but you can grow a little bit of each of those, or a lot, depending on how much space you have available. So once again, it's planning your pantry, planning how you plan to fill your pantry, whether you intend to buy everything retail, buy some of the items retail, grow some of the items yourselves. Okay, so what I like to do, and the way I plan things out, is that yes, I have my jars available. Yes, I do can all year round. I can most products when they are in season, and some items when, say, I may run short and they're available all year round anyway. I like to have things like applesauce, and applesauce you can do any time of year. Cranberries, we only get cranberries here at Christmas and Thanksgiving to go with your turkey, but I like to have cranberry sauce with chicken. If I roast a chicken, the cranberry sauce with chicken is very nice as well, so I like to can up a few extra jars of cranberries when they're in season. and I have them in my pantry. So my plan is always, yes, have my jars ready, have my pantry ready, know what I want to can, grow what I can grow to can, and eat what I can eat fresh. Fresh is always preferable. And then what I can't is where do I buy what I cannot grow or raise myself. So I suppose that my thoughts here are, if you're going to can for the season, plan what you're going to do. Plan if you're going to have a garden. A garden takes a lot of work. Very rewarding, but it does take a lot of work. Canning takes a lot of work. That's also very rewarding. You know that your family has some form of food security. Now, not everything that you're going to preserve is going to be in jars. And plan what dry goods you want. I plan to grow a lot of herbs this year just because I love fresh herbs as well. That's not something I can. I may put it in jars. They do take up a lot of garden space, but I would have a whole garden just of herbs if I could. And I hope I've given you some food for thought here. This is Tony from her Homestead Skills, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And we'll catch you on the next one.